Hello children, today we are going to study about the properties of addition and subtraction of integers. Today we are going to study about the 5 properties of addition and subtraction of integers. That is closure properties under addition, closure property under subtraction, commutative property, associative property and additive identity. Now let us take the first property, that is closure property under addition. For any two integers a and b, the sum of a and b will always be an integer. That is, a plus b is equal to c, where c is also an integer. Now, let us take two integers 3 and 4. The sum 3 plus 4 is equal to 7, but 7 is also an integer. Now let us take the next example where both the integers are negative. We see that the sum is also a integer because here when we have taken minus 3 plus of minus 4, we get minus 7, where minus 7 is also an integer. In the third case, when we have taken integers of different sign, even then we get an integer. Now we will see the closure property under subtraction. For any two integers a and b, the difference of a and b will always be an integer. That is, a minus b is equal to c, where c is also an integer. For example, take two integers 3 and 4. Here the difference, that is 3 minus 4 is equal to minus 1, but minus 1 is also an integer. Now let us take two more examples where the integers are negative and where the two integers are of opposite sign. Again we find the difference is always an integer. Now there is a small note, that is closure property of integers is true for both addition and subtraction. Now we'll talk about the second property, that is commutative property of integers. For any two integers, the sum will remain the same even if we change the order of the integers. Hence, this property is also called order property. For example, let us take two integers, that is a and b. We find a plus b is equal to b plus a. Let us take a few examples to find whether commutative property is true for addition. Now take two integers 3 and 4. When we add 3 and 4, we get 7 as a sum. Now again, when we change the order of the numbers, when we add 4 plus 3, again we are getting the same sum as 7. In the same way, when we take two integers which are negative, again we find that the sum will always remain the same even if we are changing the order of the numbers. Thus, we find that the sum of two or more integers will always remain the same even if we change the order of the numbers. Now let us see if commutative property is true for subtraction. Take two integers 4 and 3. 4 minus 3 is equal to 1, but 3 minus 4 is equal to minus 1. Hence, we see that commutative property is not true for subtraction. Taking some more examples, we find that subtraction of integers is not commutative. Now let us take the third property, that is associative property. This property is also known as grouping property. For any three or more integers a, b and c, the sum remains the same even if we change the numbers in the groups. For example, take any three integers 3, minus 4 and minus 2. Now when we group 3 and minus 4, we get minus 1 as a sum. And when we add this minus 1 to minus 2, we get minus 3. Now in the second case, when we group minus 4 and minus 2, we get minus 6. And when minus 6 is added to 3, we get minus 3. We find that the sum remains the same. Thus, we see that addition of integers is associative. Let us see whether subtraction of integers is associative. We found that subtraction of integers is not commutative. That means subtraction of integers is not associative. We can find this from the following example. Here we find the difference is not the same. Thus we see that subtraction of integers is not associative. Now we will talk about the additive identity for addition of integers. When 0 is added to any integer, we get the same number as the sum. For example, 8 plus 0 is equal to 8 or is equal to 0 plus 8, or minus 8 plus 0 is equal to minus 8 is equal to 0 plus of minus 8. Thus, for any integer a plus 0 is equal to 0 plus a. So 0 is called the additive identity. Now a small question. Write down a pair of integers whose sum is minus 7, difference is minus 10, sum is 0. I will do the first problem for y'all. We know that for sum we have to use the operator plus. Since the sum is a negative integer, both the integers can be negative or one of the addends can be a negative integer, but both can't be positive integers. Hence the integers can be minus 2 plus of minus 5 is equal to minus 7. Minus 9 plus 2 is equal to minus 7. 3 plus minus 10 is equal to minus 7. That means there are many possibilities to get minus 7. In the same way, do the other two problems. Thank you.